Step 1, make a list. Step 2, ignore the list because you are just like me and having a list does nothing but make you more likely to avoid the area where the list happens to be. No, but seriously, today I'm going to tackle my own tendency to procrastinate and hopefully help you out a little along the way. So I am going to head over to do something that I have been needing to do for months, while future me is going to talk to you about procrastination. Man, I really hope future me doesn't put this off too long. There is so much good advice going around about ways to beat procrastination, but I think most of it can be boiled down essentially to finding ways to give you a sense of urgency. The best way to get a nice sense of urgency is to have a 10-page paper due tomorrow that you haven't started yet. But this is Minecraft, and as great as those high-stakes situations are for defeating procrastination, they are also really stressful. So my goal today is to find a low-stakes, non-stressful way to give myself that sense of urgency. And what I just did is the first way. I told myself that I can't move on to the next portion of the video without finishing the base of the walls or the bridge, and you know what? It took me like 3 days to get it done. Granted, I had a lot of other stuff going on, and everybody's different, so forcing yourself to meet a project deadline it might work for you. But it didn't work for me, so let's try something else. I've been needing to make an entrance to this bathhouse that I made for quite a while now, and I keep putting it off, so I made myself a bit of an ultimatum. I sent a message to the other members of the server to come over to the bathhouse tomorrow, and well, if they can't get in, we can't really have a party, can we? And so here I am. Doing this video has really forced me to think a lot about why I procrastinate, and I think the biggest thing is that I'm scared. Not scared in a mortal terror sense, of course, but more in a I don't want to fail sense. I mean, I love playing Minecraft and I love making these videos, but in order to love something, you have to care about it, and I care a lot about my builds and my videos, and I want to make things that I can show the world and be proud of, and I want to make videos that will help build the channel and share my love of this game with lots of new people. And with that desire comes the fear that I won't live up to expectations, whether they're those of my friends or my own. And while that fear can be a good motivator to keep doing my best, it can also paralyze me, particularly when it comes to these smaller details. At the end of the day, I'm building this into what will be a massive city, and I just can't afford to give 200% on every single detail, so you know what? I'm just gonna sandbag this one. I'm just gonna add in a little bit of strooped... Did I just say strooped? I'm just gonna add in a bit of stripped spruce wood, nailed it, because I think it will make the floor look just a tiny bit better, which it does. But you can really see that I phoned this one in. You see we've got all of these little connections up to the barracks, so all of the people living in here can just go right down the ladder. They'll get into this area, which is sort of like a locker room, I suppose. And then right around the corner, you can get straight into the bathhouse. And aside from generally just being so much less stressful than it would be to try and make this look really, really good, put lots of details in here, I also found that putting just a little bit less effort into this part made me start thinking about this part where it actually connects to the bathhouse itself, and I actually really like this. I wasn't actually planning to do this, but I feel like this really sells the vibe where up above we have that military base that wasn't there originally. Originally this was like a castle or something, and it had a big bathhouse, and then when the people came in and they conquered the area, they kept the bathhouse, but they transferred all of that building material up above to something else, and they just created a military barracks. And so they had to find some way to connect the barracks into the bathhouse down below, and so there's just sort of like this rickety old, I don't know, like scaffold job connection. I think it looks good, and it's also very thematic. And if you're curious about how the party went, I mean, it went as well as could be expected considering such a short notice invitation. The only person that showed up was the birthday boy himself, but I gave him a shulker box full of shulker shells as well as a stack of diamonds for his trouble, so I think it went well. But since this is a video about dealing with procrastination, the important thing is how did giving myself an ultimatum work? And I gotta say, it worked great. I got the project done promptly and I didn't waste any time, but oh boy was it stressful. Something work related came up right before I started building, so I didn't get started until late into the night, and I couldn't give myself any leeway because I'd already told everyone, and I mean, I can't just going around wasting other people's time. All of that to say that it was really stressful, and I get way too much of that in my normal life to be stressing about this too. Which means we gotta try something else. This big section of cleared land is going to be a massive interior harbor for the city, but as it is now, it's more of an eyesore than anything else. I've been putting this off for a long time, less because I'm scared of messing it up and more because it's just a lot of pretty boring work. But it's time it finally got finished. And with all of this mud put in, I can finally get started on filling this with water. And while I do it, I'll tell you what I learned. I already knew going into this that one of the biggest motivators for me is sharing my work with other people, and that's what this was. I went into this with the goal of getting to make a post to my Discord about all my progress, which was great. And if you want to share your builds or talk with like-minded people, feel free to join my Discord in the link below. Or you could just join a big YouTuber with a more established community. Unless you want to be able to tell all your friends that you were a Purple Time fan before he was a world-famous Minecraft YouTuber garnering millions of views per video. Step 3. Stop daydreaming. No, but seriously, sharing my build was a part of it, but just as important, I wanted to make a cool time-lapse. Whether or not I succeeded is up to you, but when I started this channel, aside from wanting to show off my builds and have a recorded history of my work, I also wanted to make time-lapses of what I made. Watching these YouTubers make fantastic builds and just getting to sit there watching it with some great music was, and still is, one of my favorite things to do. Which is why I made this way harder than it needed to be. Just the process of adding dirt and changing it to mud took more than 4 hours, and I could have added the water first to make it way faster, but my goal in Minecraft is no longer just to make cool builds, it's also to present it in entertaining ways. Which brings me to what I think is my key takeaway from this entire video. The only way to overcome procrastination is to make it painful. You have to make it hurt, whether that comes in the form of giving yourself deadlines to meet, or by giving yourself strict guidelines or challenges, or by doing things in a more painful way for the sake of an even greater result. No matter what you do, it has to hurt a bit. I may be waxing a little bit too philosophical here, but we as humans need to have hardship in our lives. Maybe not as much hardship as it feels like we often get, but when there's no hardship at all, we get lazy. When I started this channel, I didn't really care about making videos. I mostly just cared about getting my builds out into the world and letting people see them. But then I encountered hardship. I wanted people to see my builds, but if my video quality was low, then people just wouldn't watch. And if I hadn't encountered that hardship, then I wouldn't have felt the need to learn how to make entertaining videos, and I wouldn't have pushed myself to do things that were outside my comfort zone. So if you take nothing else from this video, if you want to beat procrastination, you have to make it hurt. Hey guys, I know this video is quite a bit different from the ones that I usually make, but I just had a ton of little projects to do that were going to take a bunch of time, and I don't know, it kind of felt like they might be a bit boring if I made an episode on them. So I was trying to think of a good way that I could make an episode, get all this stuff done, and still make it really entertaining, and I really hope that's what this was. If you're worried about this being just a bit shorter than usual, don't worry, I've got a really big episode planned next, and it should be coming out pretty soon. I hope. But anyway, I think that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed making it, and I'll see you next time. Bye!